Yes, I am recording. What do you want to show me?
Can I show your podcast?
I guess. Yeah. What is it?
Okay. Where's the speaker?
Is it another Chrissy Wake Up?
Yeah, where's your speaker?
It's right here.
Okay.
Okay, so we've been kind of obsessed on TikTok with the Chrissy Wake Up sound and how it's like evolved and taken on a life of its own. And so every time Brittany finds a new one, she comes and shows me excitedly. So,
oh, okay.
Yeah, here. Go ahead.
Brittany, that's amazing. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, that's one of the better ones.
Did you hear it?
Yeah. Anyways, how's that for a fucking open?
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you're tuning in from across the country and around the world. This is the Life Midwest Podcast. Thanks for tuning in to episode 68, everybody. Join a washed-up musician, a communications major, and an Army veteran originally from the Midwest as we talk about life, events, and current events. Here to carry out that show is your host, Kevin Palmer. I got our Thai correspondent, Wes Shirley, over there, who's apparently a pigeon, and joining us from the West Coast, Seattle's best, and a very quiet household this afternoon, we have Lenny Wells.
Sorry, we're all recovering from COVID. That's why it's quiet.
Everybody's sleeping except Lenny.
No, the 5-year-old is awake and rambunctious, but the younger child is certainly being quieter than usual.
You were telling me before we started rolling that the 5-year-old is really not been kept down by the Rona.
No, I'm not even convinced that he's actually contracted it, but
thank you to special guest Brittany for jumping on real quick and showing us TikTok, where people have too much time on their hands and the consumers have too much time on their hands as well. So it's just a bunch of people who have too much time on their hands, whether you're the content creator or the consumer of it. So.
Says the podcast host.
Yeah.
Says the podcast host. You know, I saw a funny meme, or actually, no, I think I saw it, but I think it was Wes who sent it, where it's like somebody like creating music and like, oh, I hope they like that, and then it's like a podcast and it's like 3 dudes talking around, like sitting around talking about like the checkout line at the grocery store being too fucking long.
Yeah, I think Wes did send that into like our group message, but I saw that. I saw it like independently like a week beforehand. I was like, do I send this, or are they gonna like think this is like stupid or like take offense to it? So I'm glad Wes actually ended up sending it.
Feel free to always send. Yeah,
there's no filter on memes, boys.
Well, anyway, it was just about like, I didn't know if it was like going to be too meta. And like, anyways, I didn't want to feel like I was calling anybody out, but we're like way off course for today's show.
Leave it to Lenny to fucking re-rail us. What's the word there? Is it re-rail us instead of derail us?
It's back on track.
I'm gonna rail somebody.
Oh my.
Okay, that's our show, everybody. Thanks for coming.
You accepting volunteers?
Oh, Wes, if only you weren't in Thailand.
Speaking of being in Thailand, how's that for a segue? Welcome to Culture Clash 2022, everybody. Today's episode is going to be about Wes's experience in Thailand so far and kind of what he's been up to. It's not really an around the water cooler episode because that's more so when we talk about like, personal life and what we have going on with each other and things like that. But this is more of, get to know a country that you've never been to through the experiences of somebody that you might, typically know or listen to. So here he is, Wes Shirley, everybody. Wes, what are some key things? Just kind of summarize for me in some bullet points. What are some key things that you want to cover today, as far as like what's different or what you want to talk about?
I don't really have anything in particular I want to talk about. However, it would be a shame if I didn't mention a couple of the crazy aspects that one experiences when going to a new culture. I feel like it might be the reverse too. If you come to the U.S., you might experience similar things. But like the food, for example, driving, travel in general and how that works, climate, culture, but like culture in like a micro sense, like the fine points of it, like religion and the government and how that all affects one's daily life. So like nothing in particular, more just kind of broad strokes. And just as like a warning, I probably will be like canceled after this episode because I have my own opinions that are very, very goofy, I guess.
Well, it just wouldn't be talking with you, Wes, if we didn't get some goofy shit going on. So, let's start with like the most culture shocking thing for you. What would you say that is?
I think it's the fact that coming from a democracy where we generally, I don't know if we frown upon it, but like in the early days, we certainly did. Like Thailand's a kingdom, so like it's like I guess England would be at this point, or the UK would be at this point, where it's a monarchical democracy or monarchical parliamentary, or I don't know. I failed my government class apparently. Yeah, it's just weird seeing like pictures all over the place. Like you go into someone's house and there's a picture of the king in there and stuff like that. In the US, you might like imagine having George Washington all over your house. He's on our money, and you see him in like government buildings and in history books and definitely plastered all over history class. But I don't think anyone's really having a, top shelf picture right next to like the family pic.
Is it like the current king, or is it like since like Thailand as it exists today, like that first king, or is it like the current ruling monarch?
So out in public, like at government buildings, you'll just see like really big pictures of the current king and the current queen, and in like people's homes, because the previous king is like universally liked, I believe. I think there's a subgroup of people who just generally dislike the monarchy, but like if you go anywhere else, you see the previous king, which is King Rama IX. So like if you go out in public, you're going to see the current king, or like on television during their news segment, they show pictures of the current king. But in people's homes, and I very small selection bias here, given that I've only seen my new families insides of their homes, and I guess I've been in some of Yui's friends' homes too, so there's that. But like you see just the previous king, and she's standing behind me, so I don't know how wrong I'm talking right now, but we'll figure it out after this.
Is King Rama the Ninth, is he dead?
He is, and I'm gonna seem ignorant here, I believe it was 2017 that he passed away. But so the new king's only 5 years deep as far as it being his kingdom goes. So I'm going to have to flip a switch real quick that says this is Wes's opinions entirely and doesn't represent anyone or anything. From my experience, and I've done my own research on the previous king, not only since I've been here, because it's like a phenomenon, like, whoa, you see this dude everywhere, but also I took the opportunity my senior year in college to actually write a brief report on him and his like government policies. And he's like he's a G. He's an OG. He's was the king for a pretty long time. I want to say sometime in the, oh God, I'm so bad at dates, maybe the 50s or 40s even, all the way up to like
Jesus.
2017. He graduated from Harvard in the United States, and then went back to Thailand to take his throne after it was his. And he like turned the country from a lot of like poor farmers to in like a lot of rich farmers, and then like modernized it. Basically took his modern Harvard education and turned Thailand into a very, I would call it a first world country. I know first world means you're aligned with the US, and Thailand's historically been somewhat neutral. Fun fact, they are our oldest ally. President Jackson made a truce with Thailand back in like 1840 something. If that's, no, it would have been 1820 something. Either way, so fun fact, Thailand's the US's oldest ally, which I didn't know until doing research. But yeah, he took his modern US, I guess not US, just Western in general education, and did a lot of good for the country. I mentioned in the episode about catching up with me that like there's something called the Royal Project, where they have like local foods and just kind of fruits of the policy and fruits of the labor of like royal initiatives.
I do remember that. Yeah.
So does Thailand have like a functioning legislative body, or is it like a more traditional monarchy, I guess?
So I really don't know exactly how it works. I know back a few years ago there was actually a military coup, which I think happens often. And so there's it's like England, where the king and the queen are kind of a figurehead at this point, but there is a parliament, if I'm not mistaken, and I'm sure it operates in some way similar to other countries, where there's a legislative body and there's an executive body. I don't actually know about a judicial body in any way. Yeah, I'm quite ignorant when it comes to the government outside of the previous king.
That's all right. I know something that you're not ignorant about is the food there and how much it slaps.
Oh my God. Some of the food is just downright amazing. You know, like everyone talks about Japanese food as like being a treasure to the world. Thai food's pretty damn good. If you like spicy food. If you don't like spicy food, you might not like any of it, because like all of the good stuff's spicy. I guess not all of it. In my opinion, all the good stuff's spicy. You know, they have like world treasure level foods, of course. Just like you would like America. What do you think of as an American food? Like a hamburger or some shit. In Thailand, you get like something called tom yum or tom yum. I'm so bad at Thai, which is like a spicy soup. They have, I think, shrimp's the most famous one. And then even in the US, we eat pad Thai, or I think we call it pad Thai in the US, but it's just like noodles and sauce and different vegetables and meat. So like they have a lot of really good traditional foods like that you could really consider Thai, but they also have such good like fusion food and just amazing food in general. I guess this is kind of embarrassing, but my favorite food coming here is actually Chinese food. There's a large Chinese population here, and they all bring their own. And China's a big place, so from different regions of China, they bring like their different types of ramen or their different noodles, different types of dumplings like gyoza and buns and dim sum and stuff like that. And just a big fan of all that. One of Yui's friends asked me what my favorite Thai food is, and I just kept naming Chinese food. There's also a pretty decent sized Japanese population in Bangkok. So like there's good Japanese food. I've had some really good ramen the other day, because I was also in Bangkok not too long ago. And there is, what else? Oh, Mexican food. There's some really good Mexican food here too somehow. I guess.
What?
I mean, if you think about it, Thailand kind of is like the Mexico of Southeast Asia. Spicy food, lots of peppers. Yeah, I guess that's where my comparison ends. Hot as hell.
There's just like a bunch of like Mexicans living in Thailand, huh?
Oh, I haven't seen a single Mexican. There's just Mexican restaurants here.
Oh my God. All right. I'm going to sound so ignorant this episode.
Oh, me too.
Speaking of ignorant and not really knowing what to know, and talking about food, when you go out to eat, you mentioned that tipping is it's not a thing, but it's also not a thing? Question mark.
So tipping's so confusing everywhere. In the US, we're conditioned that, oh, this poor server is going to starve if we don't tip them because their establishment doesn't pay them shit.
Right.
And like, I feel that to my core. So like my whole game plan is like, give the fattest tip ever. Well, I guess I'm not eligible to give the fattest tip ever as I'm not like a billionaire, but you get the point. But no one really gives tips. Like, so cab drivers, for example, they have a meter. You're supposed to pay them just what you pay them. But I always way overpay them. I'm like, okay, it costs 30 baht, which is like roughly $1 to go from here to here. In the US, an Uber would be like $10, $20, whatever. I can give him an extra 100 baht, which is like a total of a $3 tip. And my wife is just like, no, don't do that. That's absurd. They're going to stop picking up people who give no tips and only pick up forongs like you. And like they'll give like a 1 or 2 baht tip, which is like, so a baht, to do a little bit of a quick conversion here, $1 is somewhere between 27 and 30 baht given the conversion rate that day. So it's like 0.003 cents per baht, if that's how that works. I think it is.
Mm-hmm.
And so like a 30 baht trip and paying a total of 130 baht is still only like $4.50 for a decently like laborious and distant taxi ride. So like it, in my mind, it affects me in no way. But here, the local is like, maybe they see it as like an insult. Like, here you go, poor person, have all this money. So like, I don't quite understand the culture, mainly because I don't know the language all that well. I've read on like Thai subreddits and like I watched YouTube videos to kind of get familiar with it. But it seems like mixed. Half people give tips, half people don't. So you can give tips, but you don't have to. In my opinion, you should. But then again, I don't know, so you might be insulting them.
and it's interesting because in Japan, it's insulting to give a tip. So it's like what do you do? That's interesting.
What does your wife say about it?
So she always tips the delivery guy, but not very much, like $1, which is fine. I've come to realize you shouldn't tip them so much. It might come off as disrespectful. But like, so they have something called Grab here, which is kind of like DoorDash. They have Line Man, which is like Uber Eats. Nani?
Grab here. I don't know why.
They have Grab next word here. It's called Just Grab.
Oh.
Yeah, so they have Dong Grabber, which is kind of like DoorDash. They have
what kind of DoorDash are you having?
The Thai kind. Definitely getting canceled. You know how you go to a Thai massage?
Oh my god. I can only imagine the look he's giving you right now.
She actually went to go take a shower, which is why I've kind of turned up.
Wes is turning up, so it's a great time for a break. Hey, when we come back, Jesus fucking driving Christ. Stick around. Welcome back, everybody, to episode 68 of the Life Midwest podcast. On the other side of the break, it's your host, Kevin Palmer, Wes Shirley, and Lenny Wells. Hey, if you're looking for ways to support us, we do have a PayPal that's live at paypal.me/thelifemidwest. You can also interact with us on any of our social media platforms at The Life Midwest, including TikTok now. We also have a website at thelifemidwest.com. If you're looking for the best and most free way to support us, that would be to leave us a review or rating on your favorite listening platform. That helps us out. That drives up our ratings and helps us get noticed by people like you who might have randomly discovered or stumbled upon us. So we just want to keep that good thing going. And hopefully reach more people and get people to join in on the conversation. So finally, you can also email us at support@thelifemidwest.com. I don't think we have any new emails to read this week. I'm going to double check that real quick while we're in the middle of the break here, talking about Thailand today and the adventures of White Boy in Asia, as I'm affectionately calling the episode. So no new emails to read this week. Wes, I do want to talk a little bit, speaking of a White Boy in Asia, a little bit of casual racism going on in Thailand over there. What's that about?
So I think anywhere you go, you get a little bit of racism, right? I mean, even if it's in good nature, like curiosity, like, whoa, you're white. Not like in Japan. In Japan, it was like, holy shit, a white dude. Can I touch your hair? In Thailand, they have so many tourists here. But what I did notice is even my wife will call me it, and it's Farang, which means like foreigner, but like not quite like that. So like Farang comes from Faransé, which is like a French person. Like they just call all white people French people. Like, yo, it's a Farang.
So that's like the Thai equivalent to gringo?
Something like that, or like Yankee, or...
The Japanese is, what is it? They say gaijin?
Gaijin. The gaijin's like mean, though. I don't think Farang's mean. Like even in my Learn Thai books, it says like, written by a Farang, how not to be a stupid Farang in Thailand and stuff like that.
So, question: the band Foreigner, what are they called in Thailand?
Hey, you ever listen to Farang?
Something else that I think people would be interested to learn about would probably be kind of comparing things that they experience in America versus how they would experience them in a different country or culture. For example, shopping malls. Can you talk about like shopping malls and like different examples of like things like parallels like that?
Yeah, so like I feel like I live in both the 2020s and the 90s at the same time, given the amenities that this culture offers. So it's just as technologically advanced as the US, as China. I mean, they get all their stuff from those places. They also do a fair number of manufacturing for us. Like if you use Head and Shoulders, for example, guarantee it says manufactured in Thailand, and just like tires and other stuff. So like they're very modern here, to the extent that I don't actually feel like I went anywhere, especially when I'm in Chiang Mai, because it's like a commuter town. So, oh, look, cars, no public transportation, and modern amenities. Seems pretty good to me. But shopping malls, like there's like 4 just within a short distance of where I live. In at least the Midwest, like you see 4 shopping malls that used to be shopping malls and now are various things, anything from a parking lot to an Amazon fulfillment center. Yeah. And then you have that one mall that survived with just a few stores rocking out in it still. But they do it heavy over here. Like you can go to the mall and go to any number of stores within that mall, all different types of food court, anything from getting your phone fixed to getting your, whole computer set up. Like everything is kind of centralized into a mall. You, of course, have your traditional stuff, like there's streets with like street vendors and old style shops, but then you just have this mega mall like every so many blocks, and they host events there. They'll have concerts on like the bottom floor, like idols and stuff like that. They'll host Pokemon Go events. Like it's crazy to me. It feels like getting thrown in the 90s while living in 2020.
Lastly, I wanted to cover what we previewed before the break, the Jesus fucking driving Christ. Talk about that a little bit.
Oh boy, Yui rejoined me in the room, so she gets to hear all of what I have to say about driving. So lucky. It's a bit insanity. Like, so between Bangkok and Chiang Mai is completely different. In Bangkok, it's like, imagine, I've never been to New York City, so this is me imagining out my ass, but I've been to Los Angeles, and not even that's as crazy. Just car to car, bumper to bumper, people cutting each other off, most people not using turn signals, people beeping at each other for no reason. Like, you see a line of cars in front of you and you still beep at the person in front of you, like, get out of my way. I haven't gone for my driving test yet, so I don't know how rigorous it is, but I've heard you kind of just like take a quick written test and they let you drive. I know I had to go to driving school in the US and the roads are just a bit crazy. People like kind of merging into each other, people tailgating each other while merging into the lane, bikes everywhere. So the point, like a bike's in the right turning lane, which is also the fast lane, and then another car is like halfway tailgating them, halfway in the middle of the lane next to them because they're, for whatever reason, not able to line up behind the bike, and then someone having to swerve out of that lane, which then inadvertently cuts you off and you have to react to that.
Sounds like that last mission of Halo Reach where you just get the objective survive on your HUD.
And I guess a lot of people, I don't have an exact statistic, but it's more common to get ran over in Thailand than like a lot of other causes of death that you would think would be higher than that.
With the way you just described everything, that does not, I can't believe that that's how it goes.
Hey, Wes, before we go to the shout outs, do you have a new Thai word of the day for us?
Well, I taught y'all Farang. That's kind of
that's
new.
true. We got Farang, yeah.
All right, so let's see here.
What's your most recent like curse word, I guess?
Oh, she's going to kick me out of her room if I start giving these away. All right, I'll do it anyways. So they have different ways to address each other based on familiarity and politeness, formality and whatnot. So like if you're talking with someone who's a friend of yours, you might just say their name. If you're talking with someone who's just an acquaintance, you might say kun before their name. Like if I'm talking to Yui, but I don't really know her, I just kind of know her, I might say kun Yui. I think that's how that works. But there's some really rude ones. Like I don't even know how one would go about using them or saying them. But like putting mung in front of someone's name, I guess no one says it, but it's insanely rude. Like you might get shot. So it's like the equivalent of saying fuck you. So that's the most recent swear word I've learned, I guess. And I was just watching an innocent YouTube video learning some Thai, and they're like, you shouldn't ever use this, but we're going to teach it to you anyways. And I said it to you, and she's like, no, don't.
Oh no.
I think that sounds way more like serious than just F you.
Maybe it's the equivalent of fuck your mother. Like, but I think they have that too. She just won't tell me what it is. I asked her.
I knew a guy when I was in the military. There was we had some East Asians in my basic training platoon, and they would teach us like all kinds of like horrible shit to say to people. Like apparently where this guy came from, if you called somebody a pubic hair, like that was like a really big deal. I don't know how true that is, but that's just what he told us. I don't know, like just crazy, like something that doesn't seem like that bad could, just be off the wall, I guess, in that culture.
I think we should implement that in English. Call someone like a nut fur. Like, yo, nut fur.
All right, let's practice it. Hey, I want to shout out these two nut furs today, as well as my beautiful fiance, Ashley. I want to thank Wes for taking the time to talk about the culture shock that is going to a completely different country from the U.S. and just kind of diving headfirst into it and living in it. Want to shout out Yui for putting up with that and teaching Wes fun things to teach us and the rest of us. And want to shout out Brittany for the incredible Chrissy Wake Up TikTok. People just have way too much time on their hands these days. Lenny, who do you want to shout out this week, buddy?
Well, first off, how dare you shout out my wife before I can? Yeah, shout out to Brittany. We're all steadily recovering from COVID. She's been fantastic. I've been way sicker than she has been. I don't know why, but it's totally wiped me out. And she's been fantastic with that. So I also will shout out Yui for teaching Wes inappropriate things to say to teach us, even if that's not what she means to do. We still do appreciate it and salute you. And yeah, turn it over to Wes for your shout outs, my man.
So quick story before my shout outs. Not only does Yui teach me interesting things to say in Thai, sometimes she just thinks that I'm messing with her because of that. She had a student join her Zoom class, and their name was Hamyai XL, which means like huge dick, extra large. And she's looking at me like, did you just join my Zoom? What's going on? It wasn't me. But I would like to give a shout out to Yui for putting up with me in general. Shout out to Thailand and Thailand's people for their misfortune of me being here and exploiting their culture for lols. And shout out to mothers. Call your mothers. I'm not sure if any of you degenerates have called your mothers, but absolutely call your mothers. Talking to every one of you listening to us right now. And shout out to you two for, I guess, making me the spotlight of this episode for Culture Clash 2022.
Have you called your mother recently, Wes?
I have a delightful video call with her after this. Normally we do it beforehand, but I was a little busy.
Well, we got to go, guys. Wes has to call his mom. Hey, next week we'll be back. We'll be talking about returning to the office. If you've been working from home, or maybe you wish that you'd been working from home, and returning to work as COVID tries to die down a little bit. I mean, we keep seeing these inflections in numbers here, or upticks in numbers here, but employers want us to come back to the office. So we're going to talk about that and kind of our own experiences and 2 cents on it next week. We hope you'll join us for that. Again, don't forget to leave us a review on your favorite listening platform. Really helps out the show if you leave us a rating or review on there. And until then, we will talk to you guys next Saturday and every Saturday on the Life Midwest podcast. Take care. Have a good one.
The zoo noises.
Bye.